Hello everyone, this is Maki. Have you ever heard the word Elezm? It's an extremely important term in the Universal Century series. Understanding the meaning of Elezm and its history will give you a deeper understanding of the stories set in the Universal Century world and allow you to interpret them in new ways. It might also help you understand the business side of the Gundam series in the real world. Unicorn 2 announced as the continuation of the Gundam Unicorn story. There is also the UC Next 100 project, which plans the further development of the Universal Century series. The key word that connects all of these is Elezm. Today, let's explore this concept together. Before we dive into the main topic, I have a quick announcement. On my channel, I'm inviting support through memberships. For just 99 cents a month, you can get a name badge and commenting perks. Now, let's begin our research. To understand Elezm, it is also necessary to know about the space immigration policy led by the Earth Federation government. The Federation used beautiful phrases like pioneers of a new era to encourage people to leave Earth and settle in space. Of course, there were also good intentions, such as the desire to save the polluted Earth environment. However, the fact that so many wars broke out later on shows the feelings that the space immigrants held toward the Earth Federation government. By Universal Century 0040, 40% of the human population had immigrated to space. The span of 40 years is also an important factor. The people who were actively participating in society at the beginning of the Universal Century had grown old, and the generational shift was underway. Among those living in space colonies, it had become normal for people to have never seen Earth. For such people, the idea of calling themselves pioneers or immigrants was becoming less common. 5 years earlier, in Universal Century 0035, construction began on Site 3, the colony farthest from Earth. Site 3 is on the far side of the Moon when viewed from Earth. Many of the people of Site 3 only knew of Earth through information rather than direct experience. A time arrived when people who had never seen Earth or never set foot on Earth began appearing in space. These people formed the foundation of society. It was during this era that the term Elezm was coined. Eventually, people living in space arrived at the idea that Earth is a sacred land. They concluded that as a sacred place, Earth must be protected and that humanity should live in space. Earth is the source of life. Yet, humanity has continued to pollute our Mother Earth in the name of progress. However, humanity has achieved space development and immigration. This proves that human beings are capable of living in space. Therefore, all of humanity should live in space and restore Earth. This is the essence of the philosophy called Elezm. Later leaders adopted Elezm as a guiding principle for their actions. Z and Zumdaikan sought to establish an era in which space colony nations would enjoy autonomy equal to that of the Earth Federation government, and in which all of humanity would immigrate to space. Gear and Zobi sought to govern all of humanity under the principality of Zeon to prevent the extinction of the human race. Jumida of Haimam also sought to remove people from Earth through overwhelming power to protect it as a sacred land. Even Maki, the organization to which Hathaway Noah belonged, acted with the same purpose. To save the environment of Earth from pollution caused by humanity, they carried out their activities under the belief that all of humanity should immigrate into space. Elezm existed in the hearts of the major organizations and leaders that appeared in the Universal Century. So, why does Elezm end up influencing the business side of the Gundam series in the real world? The answer lies in the Universal Century 100 and Beyond Direct created by Mr. Yoshiyuki Tomino. By Universal Century 152, the era of Victory Gundam Earth had lost its political significance. People had also begun to lose interest in Earth. Without support from the Earth's Federation government, the space noids had become capable of sustaining their own lives. Depending on your interpretation, this could be seen as a kind of liberation from Elezm. Many leaders in earlier times acted with Earth as the central focus. The philosophy of excluding those who cling to Earth was still in itself an obsession with Earth. However, by the Universal Century 100, people had become indifferent to Earth. This was a very different situation from what had come before. The UC Next 100 project aims to expand the world of the Universal Century into the 100s and beyond. The project also presents the challenge of creating stories that do not depend on the Earth-centered narrative based on the philosophy of Elezm originally developed by Mr. Tomino. This goal is both grand and extremely difficult. If the stories were completely separate from the Universal Century, creators would be free to build their own worlds. The success of the alternate series proves that such an approach can gain popularity. However, the situation is different with UC Next 100. It must be based on Tomino's Universal Century, while introducing entirely new concepts. The success or failure of this project could have a major impact on the future of the Gundam series. Now, let's discuss Gundam Unicorn 2. Although this title has been officially announced, it is still only provisional. Once the story is finished, it may be given a different title. Mr. Haruto Shifukui is leading the production of this story. He wrote the story of Gundam Unicorn. In an interview, Mr. Fukui shared the idea that after Universal Century 100, the term new type began to be forgotten by people. Perhaps some major event caused this. He also considered the possibility that people didn't simply forget the word new type, but rather began to avoid it. Gundam Unicorn 2 is more than just a continuation of the Unicorn story. It is also a great foundation for creating the next era of the Universal Century. At the same time, it is an important foundation for Bandai to build on commercially. This is just my speculation, but perhaps the lack of new information about Gundam Unicorn 2 for such a long time is connected to these complex circumstances. What is the meaning and the importance of the word Elezm? Have you found new insights in both the world of the story and the real world by understanding this? The world of the Universal Century is still overflowing with fascinating elements. Let's continue exploring and studying it together. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next program.